Tamala Krishna Gosvami later claimed in 1990s that the July 9th letter was never authored by Prabhupada. The appointment of ritviks as the appointment of gurus. However, by the end of 1995, he once again reverses his position. And Srila Prabhupada clarified anyway as per Gauridas Pandit Prabhu's recollection. Tamala Krishna Goswami's own testimonies contradict his later denial. These confessions contradict his 1990s claim that the letter was his own creation. Hare Krishna. In a video that was recently shared on social media, originally from the 1990s, His Holiness Tamala Krishna Maharaj makes a startling claim that the well-known July 9th Directive, long considered Srila Prabhupada's final instruction on initiations in ISKCON, was not authored by Srila Prabhupada at all, but was instead drafted solely by Tamala Krishna Goswami himself. He further asserts that the contents of the letter were his own creation. This assertion directly challenges the established understanding within ISKCON and is being cited as an evidence that the July 9th letter should not be regarded as Srila Prabhupada's final directive. Given the serious implications of such a claim, it is essential to carefully examine Tamala Krishna Goswami's historical statements and actions to determine the credibility and consistency of his narrative. Let us go through the timeline of Tamala Krishna Goswami's shifting positions over the years. To begin with, let us go through the following conversation Tamala Krishna Goswami had with Srila Prabhupada on April 22nd, 1977, just 3 months prior to the July 9th, 1977 directive. Further, in December 13th, 1978, Tamala Krishna Goswami wrote in a letter to Upananda Das. These 11 persons were named by Srila Prabhupada in the beginning of July 1977 in Vrindavan, in the back garden of his house. These names were dictated to me as I was serving as his secretary. And now he had me write a letter to all the GBCs and temple presidents, which he also signed as approved on 9th of July, listing their names and defining their function. This was a letter written on December 13th, 1978 to Upananda Das. If Tamala Krishna Goswami later claimed in 1990s that the July 9th letter was never authored by Prabhupada, but was his own creation, how are we to reconcile with his earlier statement in 1978 that it was dictated by Prabhupada, written by him as just a secretary and signed and approved by Prabhupada? Clearly, Tamala Krishna Maharaj contradicted his own earlier testimony. Further, Tamala Krishna Goswami records in his own book released in 1980 entitled The Perils of Succession as follows. Tamala Krishna Goswami, the leader of a large number of sannyasis and brahmachari preachers, insisted that he was now their via medium in relating to Prabhupada and expected that even his god brothers follow him absolutely. Due to such claims, Tamala Krishna Goswami was confronted by his other guru god brothers, who then passed a stricture against him and suspended him from giving initiations for a few years. At that time, Tamala Krishna Goswami admitted in his famous Pyramid House talks at Topanga Canyon, he admitted, actually Prabhupada never appointed any gurus. He didn't appoint 11 gurus, he appointed 11 ritviks. He never appointed them gurus. Myself and the other GBC have done the greatest disservice in this movement for the last 3 years because we interpreted the appointment of ritviks as the appointment of gurus. He said this on 3rd December 1980 at Topanga Canyon. Here, Tamala Krishna Maharaj openly admits that his original understanding was incorrect and confirms that Srila Prabhupada actually appointed ritviks, not gurus. But again, in 1984, Tamala Krishna Maharaj changed his stance. He wrote in his book Servant of Servant, critics may doubt whether our ISKCON acharyas are actually liberated. Do they know their rasa, liberated relationship with Krishna? Will they be able to instruct their disciples similarly? But such questions bring one dangerously near the precipice of spiritual calamity. This is extracted from the book Servant of the Servant, page number 361 to 365. Post 1987, when there were guru reforms happening at ISKCON, Tamala Krishna Goswami once again changed his stance. He endorsed the new GBC reforms and admits that when he and the other 11 had been doing for the past decade, whatever they were doing was incorrect. He even supports editing out the previous controversial passages from his book Servant of the Servant in the subsequent newer editions. There are further deviations of Tamala Krishna Goswami that continued from 1992-95 when he spearheaded the formation of the so-called Gopi Bhava club, claiming that Srila Prabhupada had not given us the highest understanding and that one must consult with a Rasika Guru to achieve such understanding and realizations. However, by the end of 1995, he once again reverses his position, this time admitting that he had been wrong for the past 4 years in thinking that Srila Prabhupada had not given everything and for encouraging others to seek out a Rasika Guru. Thus, we can clearly see that His Holiness Tamala Krishna Gosvami was quite well known for his flip-flops, seesaws and juggles in his stance on various important issues of ISKCON, including that of initiation, throughout his tenure. How then can this one recorded video of 1990 be considered an irrevocable fact to discredit the final institutional directive given by Srila Prabhupada on July 9, 1977 for conducting initiations in ISKCON after his physical departure? Therefore, whether to corroborate or to discredit the July 9th letter, we need to examine other related references as well. Let us examine one such eyewitness account that confirms the ritvik initiation. Sri Gauridas Pandit Prabhu, who was serving as a servant of Tamala Krishna Gosvami during these times, recalls a conversation between Yashodanandan Prabhu and Tamala Krishna Goswami on July 10, 1977. In fact, Gauridas Pandit Prabhu's recollections also includes Yashodanandan Prabhu's writing in his diary. He says, on July 8th, Yashodanandan Prabhu wrote, Tamal Krishna Maharaj was talking about with Prabhupada ritvik gurus to initiate on behalf of Prabhupada after he leaves the planet. On July 9th, Yashodanandan Prabhu wrote in his diary, I heard from Tamal Krishna Maharaj in the afternoon that Srila Prabhupada had told him to send a letter to all the temples to explain the ritvik initiation system for the future. On July 10th, Yashodanandan Prabhu wrote in his diary entry, Tamal Krishna Maharaj comes out of Prabhupada's room and he speaks to me like this. Haribol, Yashoda, did you see this? Yashoda, no, what is it? Tamal Krishna Goswami, this is signed by Prabhupada. Yashoda, what does all this mean? Tamal Krishna, devotees have been writing to Prabhupada asking for initiations and now Prabhupada has named 11 ritviks who can initiate on his behalf. Prabhupada said others can be added. Yashodanandan Prabhu asked, and when Prabhupada departs? Tamal Krishna Goswami responded, they will be ritviks. That's what Prabhupada said. It is all on the tape. These arrangements were for the future of ISKCON after Srila Prabhupada's departure. The next few days after the ritvik appointments, I heard more instructions from Srila Prabhupada. Gauridas Pandit Prabhu recalls. Tamal Krishna Goswami asked him the next morning, July 8th, if there should be Vyasasans for the ritvik representatives in the temples. Srila Prabhupada immediately said, no, that would create enmity among my disciples. Tamal Krishna Goswami also asked Prabhupada if there should be more ritviks in the future. Prabhupada said that more could be appointed by the GBC at Mayapur. Tamal Krishna Goswami asked Srila Prabhupada what to do if a ritvik falls down, and Prabhupada replied that the GBC could remove them. These conversations were recorded, but the tapes are not available from the archives. Clearly, Srila Prabhupada wanted the GBC to appoint more ritviks in future as needed. Appointing or removing ritviks is a matter of management. When the demand increases, the number of ritviks also increases. This is management of demand and supply. GBC, being the ultimate managing authority in ISKCON, can decide on adding or removing ritviks. It is common sense. And Srila Prabhupada clarified anyway as per Gauridas Pandit Prabhu's recollection. Further, Srila Prabhupada himself wrote in his own letter to Hansadutta Swami on July 10, 1977, I have selected you among 11 men as ritvik representative of the Acharya to give initiations. A newsletter is being sent. Those who are initiated are the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Further, in a conversation with Tamal Krishna Goswami on July 19, 1977, Prabhupada says, and nobody is going to disturb you there. Make your own field and continue to become ritvik and act on my charge. People are becoming sympathetic there. The place is very nice. Further, one of the 11 ritviks chosen by Srila Prabhupada, Hansadutta Prabhu, mentions in his testimony to Veda Guhya Das, it was clear that Srila Prabhupada had officially introduced the concept of ritvik representative of the Acharya. Had there been anything more to clarify, certainly Srila Prabhupada would have written another letter, but he never did. Continue to act as ritvik representative of Acharya. That is what he reinforced. Finally, the clincher, Tamal Krishna Goswami himself, in a letter to Vaishnava Das in Dallas in 1987, says, everyone in ISKCON is Prabhupada's disciples. Rather than trying to discuss the nuances of whether they are Diksha disciples, Ritvik disciples, Shiksha disciples, etc., let us be satisfied to come to a mutual agreement. Everyone in ISKCON is Prabhupada's disciple. I am certainly embracing this mood of encouraging all devotees of ISKCON to feel their connection with Srila Prabhupada as legitimate and equal, whether they have met him physically and taken initiation from him or not. The entire issue is how much they take shelter of his instructions. That will actually determine their legitimacy as his disciples. So in conclusion, we understand Tamala Krishna Goswami's own testimonies contradict his later denial. In 1978, Tamala Krishna Goswami clearly affirmed that the July 9th letter was dictated and approved by Srila Prabhupada. In 1980, he admitted that Srila Prabhupada never appointed gurus, only ritviks. These confessions contradict his 1990s claim that the letter was his own creation. Besides, consistent historical evidence confirms the letter was Srila Prabhupada's directive, the letter signed by Srila Prabhupada on July 9th, 1977. Through multiple sources, including Tamala Krishna Goswami's own letters, Gauridas Pandit Prabhu's testimony, and direct correspondence from Srila Prabhupada, confirms that the ritvik system was Srila Prabhupada's instruction for current and future initiations in ISKCON. Therefore, a shifting narrative cannot override a signed, witnessed, and implemented order. The many changes in Tamala Krishna Goswami's views, often contradicting each other, highlight unreliability. In contrast, the July 9th letter stands as Srila Prabhupada's final, formal, and unrevoked directive on initiations in ISKCON intended to continue after his physical departure. All glories to Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.